So welcome to this event, this roundtable discussion. We do it with, it's UE, but I'm working for a company called Wens Relations, and I do this together with UE. So, and the topic of the day is optimize your e-commerce performance with AI-driven solutions. I agree with you, Lotte. Very, very hot topic and interesting. And I hope that we get a lot of discussions, not only listening, because this is not a webinar. It's more of a roundtable, but online. The positive thing with online is really that we can come from everywhere and sitting here or be on a holiday or whatever. So some practical things. We will start now, end at 4 o'clock CET time, 3 o'clock UK time. Okay. And we will have 2 presentations, and after each presentation, we are so many people, so we will put you up in different breakout rooms. We will use 3 breakout rooms. In there, you will meet me in one of them, and some experts, and also in the other from UE and Simpson. So we can discuss, and they can comment, and you can ask them questions or whatever. But also, of course, sharing experiences among each other. I think that is very interesting. If you have any questions during the discussion, just raise your hand. I mean, when we do in all this in the major group. Okay. Anything else? No, I don't think I missed anything. And it's pretty good that we have the company name, so we see where we're coming from. And please really use this opportunity to discuss a lot, not only listen. So first of all, I would like to, and when we do the presentation, then you can turn off your camera and unmute or mute if you like to. And then we come back again when I say, and then we put on the cameras. Fine. And I would like to welcome the speakers for today. And that is Martin Macmillan from UE and Vincent Gelling from Simpson. Welcome, Martin and Vincent. Where are you?
Thank you. Yeah, based in the UK. So I'm Martin. I'm senior digital consultant at UE. I've been in e-commerce for 10 years. Technical background, used to be a developer. Obviously, gradually moved into consultation as time went on. So my day-to-day role is to speak with business owners, understand what it is you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, and how we can help you find the right solution to get there.
I mean, a quick thing there. Could you say the main challenge you see from meeting all these companies?
What would I say the main challenges?
Yeah, one.
I mean, it's just the sheer diverse nature of it all. You know, every single business I've ever dealt with has different needs, different requirements. They might be on different platforms, different technical requirements, but also different business requirements. And it's not a case of one size fits all. It really is a case of drilling down to what you actually need and delivering the most amount of value possible in the shortest amount of time and the least amount of investment. And that's how you can grow a business successfully.
Good. Thanks. And Vincent, welcome you too.
Yes, thanks. My name is Vincent Geling, currently CEO of Simpson. At Simpson, we specialize in building algorithms based on machine learning and AI just to help companies to optimize prices. And we do try to do so in a way that we can really help them understand the transition that is going on in the market. So make it explainable, touchable, but also be able to incorporate it in the daily business, right? And I think that is in general a challenge to overcome. So how do you translate all these trends into just daily business operations?
Okay, good. And could you just quickly mention also the relation between you and UE?
Yes, sure. We work together a lot with UE in terms of the implementation side of the software. So with clients that we use and that want to use Simpson, then sometimes they make use of implementation partners. So we do that from the UE perspective. And then together we strengthen both our capabilities, of course, to help our customers at the utmost best.
Okay, good. Thanks. What I didn't mention is that we will also use some polls for this in both different presentations. Always interesting to see what you think there and what you vote for and so on. So, but now I would like to welcome Martin as the first speaker. So let's go for the first topic, that is, how AI solutions can help you to achieve your business goals. No, that was totally wrong, actually. How to maximize your e-commerce site's core web vitals performance.
So yeah, my talk today is the future of e-commerce, so digital strategies that can transform the business going forward. I think we wanted to run just a couple of polls just to kick off. So I believe the first one was, here we go, yeah, what is your primary audience type as a business? So are you addressing the B2C market, the B2B market? Are you direct to consumer, or are you on multiple channels? I don't know if it's possible to see the results when everyone's filled that in as well. So it looks like we've got quite a nice spread between B2C, B2B, and obviously both. Although interestingly, 0% going direct to consumer, which is actually very interesting because that is actually one of the trends for today. And I think we have one other poll to kick off with, and that is: do you feel that your e-commerce platform is successfully supporting your business objectives, or is it actually starting to limit your progression?
Interesting. What do you think there, Martin? What will be
Probably about 50-50 from my experience, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Let's see. Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, slightly 57% of positive about what they want, which is always a good start. But that's obviously 43% of people which don't feel their platform is supporting them currently. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and we'll kick off. So hopefully you guys can see that okay. So as I mentioned, we're looking at the future of e-commerce. There's going to be a lot of food for thought. Going to keep it fairly high level because there's a lot of things going on at the moment. I know Vincent's Vincent's talk, sorry, is going to be very in-depth on the AI side of things as well. So I'm really looking forward to that later on. So a quick bit about myself. As I mentioned, I'm a senior digital consultant at UE, work primarily specialised in e-commerce. I'm certified with Adobe, certified in PIM, also certified as an agile product owner. And a little bit about UE. I'm sure most of you have engaged with us previously, but we are a global organisation of 350 specialists across e-commerce, cross marketing, cross consultancy, cross integrations, cross PIM, and we're also ISO certified. Number of offices around primarily Europe, so UK, Netherlands, Nordics, obviously Poland, the Ukraine as well. And we are 330 professionals currently with a combined 22 years of experience. There's a couple of our clients on screen there, so like Liverpool FC, Booking.com, Nestle, Schneider Electric, and others.
Can I ask you a question, Martin?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do your customers think Adobe is limiting or supporting future growth?
Sorry, can you say that again, please?
Do your customers think Adobe platform and AEM and everything what comes with it within the cloud is limiting or supporting their future growth?
I think yeah, that's a very good question. I think the majority find it will support their growth in the sense that Adobe Commerce is a platform that you can do essentially anything on. It's highly adaptable, highly customizable, and it does also have a rich marketplace that you can tap into. Obviously, one of the downsides is if you don't develop in the right way, you can find yourself in a situation where things you accrue what we call technical debt, where things end up taking longer and longer, and you end up spending your time on doing upgrades and things like that. And it's those situations where we find that our customers are struggling, and quite often it's when we engage with perhaps a customer who's had other partners in the past or multiple partners and they've not worked in the right way, and that's where they run into a roadblock with their progression. But in my experience, if you do things right, you spend the time to use certified developers, you do your code reviews, you do your QA, you get it all right, then it's a great platform for enterprise level. Okay, so yes, the opening question today is, is your company, is it a trendsetter or is it a trend follower? I think we find ourselves in tough economic times at the moment. We're in a cost of living. We've seen the war in Ukraine, we've had the aftermath of COVID. In the UK, we've had Brexit. So there's just so many factors that forms a perfect storm of things that have just impacted businesses across the board. And I'm sure many of you have felt that impact, unfortunately. And with that, customers are becoming more demanding because they don't want to spend. So they're really careful about their purchases. They look at the price. You know, Vincent's going to be talking about prices later. They look at the price, they look at the quality, they look at the experience. It's really important that you differentiate yourself with that great experience. So a quick look at e-commerce growth, especially versus the retail. The COVID bubble has burst. COVID accelerated e-commerce by probably 4 to 6 years, most experts reckon. Now it's well and truly tumbled down, but it has stabilized. And the predictions are that we're going to see a modest growth of hovering around 4% in the next few years, whereas the high street will continue struggling. However, what this kind of chart doesn't really depict is the relationship between omnichannel. So if you do have physical stores and online, it's important those two experiences are seamless, and that can be the differentiator in that instance. So it's important, technology is always moving. If you're not embracing it, then inevitably you're falling behind. Being stationary is in fact falling behind. But at the same time, there's a lot of trends that are flash in the pan, and they're not always worth investing in. So yeah, really just consider, like, do you want to be the one innovating? Do you want to kind of wait to see what someone else is doing? Or are you chasing at the back, which is never a good position to be in? So as I mentioned earlier, experience is just super important at the moment. People have got used to Amazon. They've been off during COVID. They're used to ordering next day or even same day in some cases. They want an excellent refund policy. Don't want anything to get in their way. They want fast performant websites. So it's important that you're embracing all those things, or else competitors are, and you're not. And then the other side of the coin is operational efficiency is absolutely paramount. You know, when customers aren't spending, your revenue is inevitably stalling or perhaps even dipping. It's important to spend that money wisely, have efficient processes in place, try and reduce human error, try and streamline processes, whether that's through just physical processes or whether that's through technology to gain an edge to streamline things. It's really important to have a robust IT landscape, especially in e-commerce, but obviously throughout your business as well. So I just wanted to touch on the 3 disciplines of market leaders. This is actually a concept that was introduced in the book way back in 1996. It basically explored the idea that pretty much no business can be great in all areas, and that's actually completely okay. As much as we want to strive to be excellent in every area, there's really kind of 3 key areas to focus on, and they are product leadership, which is having a great product, operational excellence, so being efficient with your processes, or customer intimacy or experience. And it's okay to focus on one of those things and excel in one of those things, and that can actually give you success going forward. Just to go into that a little bit further. So product leadership, we're talking about the likes of Apple, we're talking Lego, we're talking Dyson. They're all brands that we associate with incredible products, but they are at a higher price point for good reason. So if you're that sort of business, you're not concerned. Your customers are less concerned about price. They're more concerned about the quality of it, it being the best, it being a certain level of prestige or status associated with it even. Then you've got companies that are looking at more the operational side. So Amazon, as I mentioned earlier, incredible shipping, incredible service. It's not always the best products on there, but you know you're going to get it, and you know you're protected, your rights are protected as a consumer. Same with McDonald's, obviously less the e-commerce space, but you know what you get with McDonald's. It's not the best food in the world, but it's reliable, it's quick, it's easy, and it's cheap. Same with EasyJet. And then you've got the brands that focus on the customer experience and customer intimacy. So I put Netflix in that bracket. I put Quooka, who are one of our merchants, and also put ourselves in that bracket where we like to build and foster a relationship over time. So quick poll. What is the area from the value discipline model that you would most like to focus on or improve in your business? So if we're able to get that poll up, that would be really good.
Exciting to see, and please try to answer all of you so we get a high score here.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the results. I suspect it'd be a mix of probably experience and operations. Yeah, but there are 16% that are concentrating on creating a great product, which is ultimately is what we buy at the end of the day. So that's a good thing to focus on. Cool. So rise of AI, and this is really one of the big areas at the moment. ChatGPT has entered the mainstream almost seemingly out of nowhere. Obviously, AI has been worked on for the last probably 5-10 years, but it really has exploded towards the end of last year, and now it's everywhere. So obviously, it's highly complex, but it's using learning models, and essentially we as humans teach it what's right and what's wrong. And it can essentially use pattern recognition to derive answers to what it's asked. It's already been astonishingly effective, conversational nature, but also generating content, images, sounds, all that kind of thing. So we're seeing it used in education and learning. So finding out about a topic, no longer going on to Google, you just ask it a question and get a highly summarized, succinct response rather than trawling through multiple sources. Essays and content, obviously this is a little bit of a grey area. I know a lot of uni students and stuff like that are generating their essays in here, and obviously that is form of plagiarism, but it shows you it's capable of doing so. Original artwork, so a few different styles there. So that's quite a good use case actually in order to generate art to accompany your content and your copy and everything else. Image manipulation, so quite a nice use case actually. We got perhaps an old image, you want to restore it, you want to enhance it, even actually remove a subject from the foreground, or in the case of the bottom right image, we've actually enhanced a small low quality image and re-rendered it as a high quality image. So there's definitely a use case for this stuff in general content. Original music, so actually AI generated songs a lot of you may have seen. It's all over social media, and it claimed to be Drake and The Weeknd, two massive artists collaborating, and yeah, this song went absolutely mental. And personally, like, I can't tell that it's not Drake. So that's an interesting one. AI generated people, yeah, I mean none of these are real people. Obviously, I find that somewhat disconcerting and somewhat concerning. I think we'll talk about the risks a little bit as well. But for me, knowing that it's possible to deep fake a lot of people, I think it's going to raise a lot of challenges, especially for the likes of law enforcement and the justice system and everything else like that. AI fast food. So Wendy's are actually trialing an AI response bots for the drive-through, and I found this comment a little bit amusing that they said, the CIO said, it's at least as good as our best customer service representative and probably on average better. I don't know what it is about their staff, but it does at least show you that the AI is already in a position where it is able to provide a good service. And then this one, Google Search Generative AI. So in the last week or two, Google announced that they've actually incorporated AI into their search results as expected. So you're able to ask it questions in a chat GPT style fashion, and it provides responses. And the nice thing about that over a traditional search is you can ask follow-up questions. So you can ask it, show me some clothes, some jumpers or whatever that I need. And then I can say, oh, actually, can you show me just the red ones, please? Or just the ones that are available in medium? And then it's going to actually refine that search, which is something that's not possible with the traditional Google search. So risks, obviously, something was kind of touched on it earlier with the human deep fakes. There's a number of prominent people that have expressed concern, let's say. Google, back in middle of last year, Google dismissed one of their senior developers because he said, look, I'm not sure we're doing the right thing here. This is a little bit dangerous. Literally earlier this month, Jeffrey Hinton, he's one of the godfather of AI. He actually left Google voluntarily because he truly believes that AI presents an existential risk to the human race. As does Elon Musk, who said with AI we're summoning the demon. And then Stephen Hawking, quite some time ago, obviously before his death, said, look, AI, it could spell the end of the human race. It can take off, it can control itself, it can redesign itself, and ultimately be something that we can't control, Pandora's box. So that aside, obviously we've all got businesses, we want to make use of this technology. So some of the key uses from one particular study by Deloitte was the key use was actually to make processes more efficient, but not by reducing headcount, which is really good to see. So it's about retaining the same amount of staff, but just putting them to better use and being able to achieve more in a day. And then this recent study from Gartner this month says the primary focus of businesses now in this ChatGPT era is to actually improve the customer experience and thereby in retention of those customers using AI and growing revenue. So let's look at some of these strategies. We focus on the customer experience side of things initially. So customer intimacy, we already mentioned, but it's about understanding the difference between making a quick buck on something, making one sale, versus what the possible lifetime value of that person might actually be. So experience is important, personalization is important, brand loyalty is important, all that kind of thing. So we're looking at AI. This stuff is not particularly new. It's been around for some years now, but AI recommendations and personalization in e-commerce. So it's actually tailoring what you present to the user based on things like their behavior or behavior of others like them. And just to illustrate that, a few stats on here, it's quite interesting. They can either be very powerful or actually detrimental. So 40% of consumers actually spend more than they planned when they see recommendations that are personalized to them. And actually those that do engage with those convert 70% higher, which is absolutely huge. The flip side of that is if your recommendations are not personalized, it can actually frustrate users, and 74% said, look, I'd be frustrated by that and I will just leave. So as I mentioned, they could be behavior-based, they can be personalized-based. AI is able to look at visual similarity. So if someone's interested in a blue duffel bag, it can present other similar bags in similar colors, similar styles, similar sizes. And of course, we've got stuff like trending, most viewed, all those kind of behaviors. There's a number of solutions. Obviously, we can't go into them all today, but solutions like Nosto, Tweakwise, which we've successfully implemented for a number of our merchants, they've made a real difference. AI search, again, it's been around for a while. What we need to understand, though, is a lot of traffic uses search, quite often a third of traffic uses search. And the really important stat is of those people that use search, they convert 50% higher. And I've always found in my experience that many merchants just seem to think of search as an afterthought. You're kind of there, but they care more about the rest of the journey, which is fair enough. But when search is converting 50% better, you want to do everything you can to really improve that and squeeze the maximum return from it. And then when you think of it from a technical level, some of the challenges that merchants have is maintaining those indexes of the results, any infrastructure around that, keeping your data synced, your product catalog synced into your search, any content synced into it. And it's not something that you want to be building yourself, in all honesty. You really want to leverage a solution that is pre-existing. So there's a lot of things on the market that will support synonyms both one way and two way. So what I mean by that is one way might be winter clothes encompassing jackets and scarves and gloves, but two way you might have trousers, could also be legwear, bottoms, maybe skirts, whatever. Also the ability to leverage things like spell checking, autocomplete, and everything like that as well. So again, popular solutions, Nosto, Algolia, Clearview. If you have Magento, Adobe Commerce license, you get Adobe Sensei out of the box available to you with your license as well. We're beginning to see ChatGPT be woven into search and discovery. So that's a new emerging trend. Cleaver, we've actually got a beta for this, and that can actually allow users to have that conversational approach when finding products. They come onto your site, say, look, you know, you're selling furniture. I need a chair. It's for my living room. You know, it needs to be 2-seater. I'll prefer it to be wood. Whatever your criteria is, and you can have that dialogue and actually generate really relevant results in an engaging way. Pricing. So this is one that Vincent will be talking a lot on. I think it's probably one of the most exciting areas we can look at in terms of AI. The reality is pricing is incredibly difficult. You know, your competitors are pricing similar products. We're in a world where a lot of products have become a commodity, so price is one of the main factors. We deal with merchants that might have 500,000 products even or more, and for them to manually maintain those is very time consuming, and it's, most importantly, it's not flexible, it's not agile, they can't adapt, and the price is really the price. If you can leverage AI solutions such as Simpson, you can define various rules like your margin and your appetite for aggressiveness in the market and all that kind of thing. But you can adjust your prices literally several times a day if you want. And depending on demand, depending on competitors, depending on all this sort of stuff. And this is really a way that you can derive revenue and margin, essentially not even doing anything. You can have an automated process in place taking care of that for you. So really exciting stuff. And it can also provide you insights on what's working and what's not as well, and future predictions. Augmented reality and voice, we're seeing obviously more and more of this. It is quite a challenging thing to integrate successfully, but it allows the customer to see your product in situ, which kind of makes it more of a reality for them, and makes them engage with it that much more. So IKEA is really the big one, being able to see the furniture, hold up your phone, hold up a camera, and being able to see it in your living room. It's actually scaled with 98% accuracy, which I find absolutely amazing. And that really helps drive the purchase. So if you've got a physical product that has, you know, a place to be in, consider looking at AR this year. Specsavers is another great one as well. And their feedback actually was, for first-time buyers for glasses, a lot of them feel quite self-conscious because they've not done it before. And if they went into a physical store, they kind of feel like they're being watched a little bit and being maybe judged or whatever, which is a bit silly, but you know, it's how people feel. Being able to go online and just using AR to kind of see it on their face allows them to try a variety of frames in the comfort of their own home, and yeah, reach a decision. And they might even whittle it down to like 2 or 3 they like, then go to the store and then finally make their purchase in the store. But that's a great example of omnichannel really making a difference along with technology. It's an interesting one as well. FreeKit, they work a lot with AR, and they just released this kind of configurator. It's in beta at the moment, but I would advise that you check it out as a link on the slide. Basically, with this trainer, you can say, look, I want a trainer. I think I said to it, I want it to be red. I want a blue stripe on it, and then it came up with this. So there's definitely a lot of future growth in that area. If you're dealing with complex products. For example, one of our merchants, Viewfold, they're one of the leaders in the bifold door sector. So bifold doors are very complex. And I can imagine a scenario where you say, well, look, I've got my room is this dimensions, it's south-facing, I've got wood decor, it needs to open from the left. You type all this stuff in and it kind of renders you your bespoke product. And that would be a difference maker for a lot of businesses. Voice. So voice is really catching on. More and more people have got a device such as Alexa in their homes, sometimes several of them in different rooms. If not, we've all got mobiles. We're all quite used to using the likes of Siri. You might be in the car, for instance, and you're not really legally allowed to be tapping away on your phone, so you're using voice. Google Assistant, all these. So obviously we're not seeing it integrated into websites so much, but I do believe that is the next step for search, along with AI. Perhaps even the conversational approach, but through the voice. I can see that happening in the next, certainly next 18 months to 2 years. It's one to look at. Definitely something to bear in mind is voice's impact on SEO. SEO is already becoming harder and harder. First of all, with the AI generative results taking up above the fold. And also, as we know, PPC is also taking up above the fold a lot of the time. With voice, you quite often get about one result or a couple of results, and then you proceed to that result. So that's, if voice rises like we think it will, it becomes that much more important to have really strong technical SEO so that you are towards the top of the rankings, so you're the one that gets picked, essentially. Speed and performance. You know, I think we all know this now. It's in our consciousness that speed is really important when it comes to websites, when it comes to e-commerce. Few stats here. Conversion rate drops by an average of 4.42% with each additional second of load time. So it doesn't take a few extra seconds to wreak havoc on your conversion. And indeed, the highest level of conversion rate is with pages that load in under 2 seconds. So that's always got to be the goal. Yeah, really, this is, along with AI, this is really the main trend for me in terms of getting a return on your investment in areas that you should be investing in areas that define what a good customer experience is. And then, yeah, only 3% of marketers say that load times are their top priority. I mean, to me, that's madness. Like it's almost the sole thing that you should really focus on. So I'd recommend, you know, auditing your site for this, looking at Core Web Vitals as well. For those that don't know, Core Web Vitals are a set of metrics that Google uses to define whether it sees your website as a good experience or not. And that directly feeds into the SEO search algorithm. So it's really important that they pass. If you're on Magento, you've probably heard of Hoover. Hoover's a new front end, completely reinvents how front ends are done in Magento. Not to get too deep into it, but the front end that ships Magento now is like 6-7 years old. It's built on old technologies. It's extremely bloated. And there's only so much you can do to make it a performant storefront. So technologies like Hoover strip all that away. It's really lean, it's really lightweight, and it scores 100% out of the box. So you know when you add all of your customizations to it, you're still going to have a good performance. Just an example here from one of our websites we worked on recently, e-bikes. Even with a full tracking scripts and everything else, it's scoring 91. And all the Core Web Vitals also pass. Social commerce and marketplaces. You know, this is one that's just seems to be ever growing year upon year. It's no surprise. It's a steady growth. There's a lot of marketplaces out there. There's the major ones, the Amazons, the eBays, but there's also the vertical specific marketplaces. So you've got your Azoses, you've got your Wayfairs, all those vintage that are picking up traction. Amazon, we all know how big it is, but it actually encompasses 36% of all product searches. So if your product's on Amazon, at the very least, you're making it visible to a wider set of people. And that's really how I view marketplaces. I think it's kind of an acquisition channel, because we all know that there's fees in place and you know, your margin's always going to be less when you're on a marketplace. But think of it as essentially a way of getting your products in front of a wider audience. And then once they have that brand loyalty, then they're going to come direct to you in future. Same story with social, exactly the same story. 85% of Gen Z are on social media daily. And more than half of those are actually shopping on social media, whether that's Instagram, whether that's Facebook. It's absolutely key to get your products in front of people. We all know the power of influencers now. Influencers are essentially the new celebrities when it comes to promoting stuff, especially when it comes to fashion. And if your product can be demonstrated in like 10 seconds or less, especially in a video format, through TikTok is a really good avenue as well to get your product in front of people. Already touched on some of these pros and cons, but obviously the major pro is reaching more customers, making your products easy to discover, using influencers, using viral marketing, seeing your products in situ. So if you can't invest in augmented reality at this time, then being able to just present it in situ through an Instagram feed and stuff is actually quite powerful. One big one actually, no e-commerce store required. So if you are a brand that's mostly offline and you don't have the budget to be maintaining your own direct-to-consumer presence, then you could be in marketplaces and you can be generating income that way. But the downside is obviously the fees you pay in, any restrictions, a huge amount of market saturation. Another major trend is obviously loyalty. So when sales are scarce, you want to make the most out of the customers that you do have, which means them coming back. So you want to be looking at what can you do to generate that loyalty. So marketing automation, setting up emails that are relevant to them. Again, personalization is absolutely key. You can start as basic as abandoned cart. So almost 70% of people or shoppers actually abandon their carts, which is the vast majority of them. So anything you can do to then reach out to those abandoned carts and just remind them, oh, hey, you added this to your basket, you're still interested. That's all extra additional revenue. And then you can take that one step further and say, okay, well, you've bought this, this, and this in the past. Therefore, you build up a picture of that person. You gain insights on that demographic, and you can present to them similar products or offers or promotions based on an automated strategy. We did some work with Staples actually, and yeah, our work with Staples, we actually achieved 475% increased conversion rate and 50% more leads generated. That's quite a lot of work doing A/B testing and things like that, but it shows you possibilities. Subscriptions, so they become a given, really. Obviously, the vast majority of us probably subscribe to Netflix or Amazon Prime or Spotify. We're okay with that. We're okay with not even owning content a lot of the time and just essentially renting it. So yeah, if you're in the business of consumables, a product that someone has a need for regularly, so food, like pet food, that kind of stuff, definitely consider setting up subscriptions. I worked with a company, one of the leading providers of reptile foods. We implemented subscriptions, and I think it became 80% of their revenue, something like that. Because at the end of the day, the pet needs the food; it needs it every day, every week, and it's a consistent order. So why would you not automate that? Sustainability, it's really a trend. It kind of does tie into retention and brand loyalty and brand perception. Essentially, people are just becoming more and more conscious of being green and the effect that we're having on the planet and all the negative impact that we're having. Well, we're seeing the weather. I mean, okay, sunny today, but up until recently, it's been raining every day, and we're in the middle of May. You know, it's less than ideal. So we all want to make a difference there. And there's other factors as well. You know, Tesla have made electric vehicles a lot cooler. They never used to be seen as something that you wanted to have, but now actually people buy them because they're performant and they look good, and you know they present a certain image. Interesting study by First Insight. 94% of people, of retailer respondents, believed that the brand name was more important than sustainability, but the consumers themselves said, actually, no. We value sustainability more. So what should you do? If you are doing anything environmentally conscious, shout out about it. You know, you've got your social channels. Make sure you communicate that on your product pages, on all your touch points, on your emails. You know, say, look, we're carbon neutral, or whatever the case may be. We have recyclable packaging. It's those sort of messages that really resonate. And also you're doing the right thing for the environment, but you're also going to convert more users from taking that into account as well. Greener shipping is another one that you can look into. I know certain couriers like DHL and DPD, they offer carbon neutral solutions, or at least they can combine shipments into logical groupings so that their route's more efficient, therefore they're polluting the country less as they go about their day to day. So that's all customer experience. The other side of the coin is obviously operational excellence. So these sort of companies are focusing on doing things better than their competitors, and also just better than they themselves did. So they're always looking to continuously improve. They want to be more efficient. They want to be more productive. They want to reduce human error. And they can achieve that by obviously having great values, great customer service, but also through automation and streamlining. One of the ways we can look to do that is, again, for use of AI. We can look to generate content, so a human doesn't have to do it, because obviously there's only so much finite resource your staff have to be able to work on content. Inevitably, human error will creep in the more you ask someone to do. So we can use ChatGPT. We can use it to create the basis of a blog post, or a PPC ad, or a Facebook ad, or product data. Even generating USPs from a product description. Obviously, the word of warning is use it as your starting point, but always validate it with a human afterwards. But it's still going to be way more efficient to quality check than to have to actually write these things from scratch. So at UE, we're already doing a few bits and bobs for various clients. So we're working on optimizing SEO through use of AI. We're actually feeding SEMrush keyword analysis into it. We're saying, can you rewrite this, taking into account these keywords and things like that? And we're actually able to have a positive organic SEO impact through that work. We've also created a module that will fill in your product descriptions and things like that in Magento. So if you're looking just to launch your website quickly, and get out in the market, we're able to fill in that initial product data, and then our merchants are able to then refine it over time. And then the other big area is translations. So if you are in multiple markets, we all know you need multiple lingual capabilities. So you can use AI to say, look, my master language is English. Please translate this into Spanish, Dutch, German, Japanese, whatever. And again, I would advise that you human validate it, you human check it, but that saves you an enormous amount of work. It lowers your time to market, and obviously, the quicker you're in the market, the quicker you can return your investment. So from B2B to D2C, remember in the poll earlier, I think we had 0% of people saying they were going direct to consumer. Obviously, it completely depends on your business, but we're seeing big brands the likes of Coke and Armani bridge that gap now and say, okay, I want to cut out the middleman, I want to sell direct. It's very compelling. There's a number of benefits. Obviously, you can predict your revenue a lot better. You can nurture your customer relationship and present your brand the way you want it to be branded. Whereas if you're relying on wholesalers and resellers, if you're a powerful enough brand, you can dictate them a little bit. But at the end of the day, like if their website's a bit behind the times or whatever, it might present you in not the way that you want to be presented. So being direct to consumer allows you to control the narrative, essentially. Allows you to cut out the middleman, so you're not paying someone just to circulate your products, and you're able to expand multinationally without having to have a network in place, because you're doing it all online. Obviously, there's challenges around where you're shipping it from and things like that, don't get me wrong. But you don't need a wholesaler network globally to be able to do that. There are a lot of challenges. You need to have a real understanding about what your customers want. The onus is on you to actively market those products. You need an experience which is worthy of your product, which is good, which people want to use. And also, you don't want to cut off the hand feeds. So when it comes to your existing wholesale relationships, you don't just want to say, I'm not working with you, or I'm going to undercut you. You need to actually work together and use both in synergy. So ask yourself the question, if I'm going D2C, am I going to be competing with my own partners? Because they're still selling your product. You don't want to be cannibalizing your own sales elsewhere. And will we collectively be oversaturating the market? So my recommendation is to limit the number of distributors. So I don't want to say get rid of them all, but limit the number of distributors so you're not oversaturating the market. But the key is to standardize your pricing and your promotions and your discount policies. So don't alienate them. Form proper partnerships with your resellers and say, look, we're all going to price point around this area, and we're going to take care of our own channels. So it's about being transparent. It's about being consistent, and see it as a partnership. And actually, Madison Bikes, they're one of the UK's biggest distributors of bicycle parts. They were actually able to encourage shoppers to collect their purchases from the local bike shops, because they know that forming a relationship there means they can get their bike repaired, to maybe buy accessories and things like that. And it's better for the brand and the overall happiness of the consumer to work together in that regard. And then, yeah, you need digital maturity to be able to go D2C. So all of a sudden, you go from a traditional business to having to worry about UX and design, having to worry about data, integrations, different platforms, marketing. So yeah, it's something that you need to thoroughly consider and plan. We worked with Schneider Electric, a very good example. They were previously only B2B, and they made the decision a few years back to go direct to consumer. So we had to do a huge project with them, Adobe Commerce, integrating their SAP ERP platform, PIM as well, various channels, various infrastructures. But through that, they're able to increase their revenue from 36 billion by 236 billion, which was a 5% increase. When you're dealing with those kind of numbers, like 5%, so huge returns. So IT landscape, it's absolutely critical. If you want operational excellence, to understand your landscape, where you're at. I would recommend that you do mapping of your processes, mapping of your systems, understand what system talks to what. It sounds like kind of common sense, but I would say the majority of merchants that I deal with, and we're talking quite big merchants sometimes, don't have a complete picture of their whole landscape. So what system talks to what system, what the flow of data is it to or from, how often does it flow? Yeah, so if you can map that out as best you can, then you can look to make improvements and make sure that all your needs are met. It's crucially important that all your team are on the same page. Last thing you want is different teams to be siloed. Low-code software solutions. So ultimately, the more code that you're maintaining, the harder life's going to be for you. So you want to be leveraging SaaS solutions where you can, but also for integrations, you want to be using software like middleware, which can provide a codeless solution for connecting one or more systems together. So it's highly likely that your e-commerce platform can be doing too much. At the end of the day, your e-commerce platform is just another sales channel. It's like anything else. It's like Amazon. It's like eBay. Yes, you own it. Yes, your margin might be higher. Yes, you control it, but it is just one sales channel. So it shouldn't be responsible for your product data, for your content. It shouldn't be the source of truth for your prices, for your stock, any of these things. If it is, that's a warning sign, and that's going to prevent you from scaling up as you go forward. So what we would suggest when it comes to integrations is an iPaaS, which stands for Integration Platform as a Service. We work with Illumio a lot on this for enterprise level clients. Essentially, it solves a number of problems. So those problems include when you're writing custom code and services, they become siloed. So what we mean by that is they get written by a developer and it gets tested and it does what you want it to do. But no one really knows necessarily, unless it's been really thoroughly documented, no one knows how it works, when it works, what it's supposed to do. And inevitably what happens is the first that you know that your integration is not working is when a customer complains about something. I can't buy it, it's out of stock. You're like, well, it's not out of stock. I know I've got loads. Oh, my stock fee is broken. And those are the signs you don't want, because it's damaging for your reputation, it's damaging for your brand, you lose sales. So it's that lack of visibility, it's that lack of ability to be able to monitor it. These sort of solutions like Illumio allows you to have a dashboard and it will show you the flow of data to and from and it will immediately flag to you if something's gone wrong, exactly what time it was, the reason for it, the logs, etc., etc. You're able to debug that even as a non-technical person. And also using a product information management system, aka a PIM. The more channels you're operating in, the more that consistency of product data becomes important. If your data is scattered across spreadsheets, or you've got people who are manually adding data to Amazon, manually doing eBay, doing CSVs into your e-commerce platform, it's just a nightmare. It's taking up all your time. It's inefficient. I guarantee you the data is going to be different. It's going to be human error in there. The moment that you're in multiple channels, you want a PIM, and you want to control that product data. You want one source of truth, and then you want to then enrich it and syndicate it to where it needs to be. And then you can then take it one step further to say, well, different sales channels, different marketplaces have different requirements. So, for example, they might have different image sizes, different dimensions. You might want a watermark on Amazon, but not on your own website. All these kind of considerations, and it's able to syndicate it and generate those thumbnails, generate that content specifics to where it needs to be. We did some work with Liverpool FC. Obviously, they are. They have a global fan base. They're selling their merchandise all across the world, both B2C and B2B. Once at that sort of scale, you cannot have just bespokely written integrations scattered around. It's just not scalable. So we work with them with Illumio to flesh out a solution that was going to work for all of their channels. And that included connecting to their e-commerce, that included ERP, all the marketplaces, all of the EPOS systems, all from one central source of truth. So product leadership, just going to briefly touch on this. Obviously, those companies that focus on product leadership want to be the innovators. They want to have the best product. It's the quality, it's the prestige, it's the social status. It's luxury, essentially, is what we're talking about here. Obviously, I can't give you advice on being a product leader because that's down to your sales, whether you want to be. It's down to your innovation on a product level. However, what I will say is increasingly the challenge is conveying those USPs, that high quality. If you have got a great product, the customer needs to know about it. And I've seen some high-end retailers not communicate those facts. And it's only been when I've been invited to perhaps go to the showroom, be shown some of the products like firsthand, that I've then appreciated, oh, okay, now I understand why it costs so much. Because when I'm on the website, I'm just looking at a couple of grainy thumbnails with a couple of lines of description. I don't know why it costs so much, so why would I buy it? So yes, you're going to great products, but it's really important that you communicate it. And also the other thing is having that content be tailored, as I mentioned earlier, having that content and images be tailored to the channel that you're in and communicating to the audience and demographic that you're in. And that's where operational excellence comes into it. So if we think back to that value discipline model, yes, you can excel in one area, but actually I believe personally that in 2023, those three models or those 3 points of the triangle are actually crossing over somewhat, and I think you need to look at all of them. So lastly, you've got all these objectives that you want to tackle both operationally and from an experience point of view. You need a way of managing it, and you need a strategy. And it's harder said than done sometimes. You're balancing both commercial goals with the operational. You want to do it in a way that you've got multiple work streams. So also you don't want to take on too much at once, but you do want to have, it makes sense to do work concurrently, right? Especially if it's operational and commercial, because you don't want to wait, oh, I'm not going to do any commercial work until I've done my operational stuff, because it's just too long. You might lose that window of opportunity. So that's where delivery comes into it, and then you need to think about how you're going to market it, how you're going to test and measure it. So at UE, we always preach about working to an agile methodology. We believe in releasing things as soon as possible, getting that customer feedback, and then making changes from there. So when it comes to strategy, we've invented a model. We call it the Resi model. It's essentially these tracks that you see here. They form an infinity loop. So the tracks they represent different work streams. So you've got attraction and retention. So those are the users that you attract into your site, whether that be through organic SEO, whether that be through email, social, however you're driving traffic. Then you've got platform operations, which is the things that you have to do to keep the lights on. Those Magento upgrades you all hate doing. The patches, the security patches, upgrading modules. Those are the things that we have to do. And we have to allocate a portion of our budget to. User experience, that's all the customer experience piece. That's all the exciting trends we've been talking about today. Performance, we touched on how important site speed performance is. Innovation, we talked earlier about whether your companies likes to innovate or whether it likes to sit and watch what others do first. And loyalty, so again, the subscriptions piece, the marketing automation piece. And it's about using a framework such as this to say, you don't have to focus on all six, but you might say, okay, look, I need to do my platform operations, and this quarter, I'm going to focus on improving my user experience. And then next quarter, I'm going to focus on my performance. And this is a way to structure those ideas together. So yeah, it's the end of my talk. I'm not sure I've gone over, probably have, but I hope it's been a good food for thought. Obviously very high level, but hopefully there's something to take away for everybody here. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
And a lot of information. Welcome back with your cameras and unmute, and we will actually do some discussions here. Very interesting, Martin. And I actually know that, or when I'm meeting e-commerce companies here in Nordic anyway, they say that many of them looking into putting into ChatGPT into their search engine instead of Google. Is that something you see also?
Yeah, like I say, a lot of the SaaS search solutions we looked at earlier, Clevo, for instance, integrating ChatGPT, so using the ChatGPT API, essentially. And the major benefit of that is it allows you to have that two-way dialogue. So instead of just searching for red jumper and then getting results, you can say, red jumper, oh, actually, can you show me the ones that are available in medium? Or can you show me ones that are made of wool? And you can then have that continual dialogue and drill down into what you're actually looking for.
Interesting. And I feel that this is the first time that Google starts to be a little bit worried about the future. Or
yeah, Google back in December or so, they announced that they felt ChatGPT was a threat to their business. But obviously, Google being Google, they've got a lot of resources, got a lot of manpower, and they're seemingly caught up with this generative AI that they're integrating with organic search. Before
we had some people that didn't arrived a little bit late, so you didn't hear that we say that we're going to break out into breakout rooms after this presentation, and then we come back, have another presentation, and then do the same thing. But first, Martin, do you have a poll in the end here?
I believe so, yeah. It'd be great to hear out of all those trends that I've went over today, which one that most excites you.
Here you are. Today's trends, which has the most excited? I must say myself, I believe that augmented reality is, I think it's amazing. And also a lot of, I guess that like IKEA, I guess a lot of new information from what customers are thinking about and using, or thinking about using their armchair for, or where in the living room, or.
Yeah, it very much depends on the product type. But if it is a product like furniture or something you put in the garden that you want to see in situ, that's where it really excels.
So this is the result. What do you think?
Not surprised at all. Looks like majority of people are interested in AI, machine learning. Yeah, for me, that's what I hear people talking about as well. And I think there's just so many use cases, both operationally and from a customer experience point of view. Yeah, obviously, at least one of those use cases, it's going to be appealing to most businesses.
Good, perfect. Let's put you up in different breakout rooms, and we do that. And when you see it's like 60 seconds left, then it's a countdown clock, and then we come back again and do the next presentation. So now we will meet in the different rooms. I'm muted. Sorry, but yeah, you see that it's brutal when we send back people. It's like automatically. Sorry, Casper, in my group that I interrupted you, but I realized shit, it's only 2 seconds left. So I hope you had a nice discussion in the other rooms I wasn't part of, but Irina, you nod your head a little bit. Yes, I maybe see that. Yeah, good. So we're a little bit behind time, so let's continue with the next presentation, and that is Vincent from Simpson, and he will talk about how AI solutions can help you to achieve your business goals. Even more interesting, or very good as a second presentation. So welcome, Vincent. Its stage is yours. A poll. Sorry, we need to do a poll before we start. I have a poll now. Please, all of you, answer the poll. After you need to only answer one. I want to select several ones of them. Of course, I mean, you say maybe customer experience, but then of course you also need to improve your revenue and business objectives maybe. Let's see what the result is. It time for that, Elin, or making processes more efficient or reducing human error? Yeah, that's good. Improving customer experience. Interesting. Good. Vincent, any comments?
Yes, I think in general, interesting answers. I think in organizations, we always try to maximize for profit position, right? So be profitable as an organization. So I think it's no surprise that making process more efficient or reducing human errors, that one is one of the main drivers in this situation. I think it's a general company objective that we always want to achieve. So I align with that one, yes.
But do you also agree that I'm getting the feeling that maybe in the beginning it's more of a support to the business role that's using it, and then maybe in the later stage it takes over the role, or?
Yeah, that is a good analysis that you can make there. I think in general, that there is a leverage between using technology, of course, and getting it into the company and getting an adaptance around such a technology and then move forward. I think finding the areas where you can apply it and that you have sufficient data to move forward with it, I think is like a first step. And I think that would play into the processes and reducing errors, and then steps afterwards can be, of course, taken into account.
Good. Welcome. Your stage is yours.
Thanks. All right. So welcome to the second part of this roundtable. So I want to take you on a journey to optimize your e-commerce performance with AI-driven pricing solutions. Of course, as Simpson, we are focused on building machine learning and AI pricing models to help our clients to survive times where we are going through today. Check. So first of all, I wanted to take a minute to zoom in on why price optimization is that important, right? So if you want to optimize, as what we said, in processes and profitability of our organization, we can more or less distinguish two directions that we can execute here. So one side is, of course, the cost optimization, and the other one is the price optimization. And if we look at these two directions and we see at the in a relation towards each other what the impact is, and we see that on the cost optimization side compared to the price optimization side is that it is 1.5 to 2%, 3 to 6%, meaning that the difference in this optimization is that pricing power on the right side is 2 to 3 times more effective than cost optimization. Of course, there's a sweet spot if you execute these types of strategies, then that you can run a lean operation and also are in control of your pricing position, then of course you will be you have the desired outcome that any operation would achieve. But if you have to make your first investments, it can be that leveraging your price optimization would deliver you, of course, more results than starting with cost optimization. However, I can imagine that cost is like very tangible in terms of if you would quit some say that the payments that you have in your organization, it's a direct visible result. well, in price optimization, you have to make some investments before you get there, right? So that is, I think, the main difference why cost optimization in first stance would, have the preference, because it feels like a direct result. However, price optimization could deliver you more on the short term. So if we look at the majority of setting up pricing systems, then there is some kind of roadmap how you achieve eventually the maximum and the ultimate precision in terms of AI hyperlearning, as we call it, to achieve that. So in these 5 steps, I will walk quickly with you through them. So on the first step that we identify is the current pricing process, right? So in general, I distinguish 3 ways of pricing in the current pricing process. So the first one is that we see is that there are a lot of manual repetitive tasks, right? So in the organization, we see that they use cost-based plus pricing. So they just have like a cost structure. On top of the cost structure, there is like this minimum margin or markup objective that they want to achieve, and that's how it's done. The other one is based on Excel or basic pricing tool where they make complex computations. And then what we see is that not too many people want to change the numbers in these types of sheets or completely understand the macros that are going on, what makes knowledge transfers quite difficult, and the situation is becoming quite static. And the last one, what we see in the current pricing process is also that a lot of companies still apply like the gut feeling, right? So you have some employees in the organization working with you for a couple of years, let's say 15, maybe 20, and then they kind of decide what the first price point is, and then you can iterate on top of that one. But it just gives you the feeling how the current pricing process looks like. And what we want to achieve at organizations is that they move to 2.0, right? So first of all, many organizations have lots of data, but they are just not able to access it, read it, and then turn it into a use. So what we see in pricing 2.0 is that you start learning from your own data position and enrich that position in such a way that you can leverage it. And then on top of it, what you can do is automate your price processes. So if you have a cost-based plus model in place, just make sure that the cost-based plus model is automated, right? So make a stream of your cost-based levels. So if you have a change in your cost, that your prices are automatically adjusted, so that you can make these incremental moves in your price changes to eventually digest, for instance, inflation or resource increases that we are dealing with today. And then if you have that position in place, this is all information from your own company, then you want to enrich that with external data factors, right? And one of those external data factors can be competitor data. Competitor data in the B2C environment is a completely different story than the B2B environment, unless a B2B business wants to go directly to the consumer, so the D2C, what Martin also discussed. But what we see in B2B, information is less transparent, right? So we not always know the true selling price of a product. But what we do see in these times is that markets are going to open up, right? So more information is getting available, and we're getting more and more availability of data that eventually can be used in such a competitive pricing situation. So that is what we call pricing 3.0. Then we move to 4.0. So then we have a lot of internal data. We have enriched your data position with external data. And then we want to start building like models around your products. And in 4.0, we use kind of AI optimal pricing situations, price elasticity that take into account certain economical cycles so that they are smart in terms of how much data do we take into account to determine the price of tomorrow, and also be able to play with that data to make a kind of future prediction of where your organization could head. And finally, of course, pricing 5.0, that is like the ultimate goal where we can go. Then you are developing these models. The models are like evolving all the time. And what we can do is challenge these models, of course, with new variables that we want to validate into the pricing strategy. And then, of course, leverage a kind of the A/B testing situations to eventually give your organization more insights and a better position to understand which things you want to take into account to get the ultimate price around your products. So what I'm kind of curious, about is where your current pricing position is. So there's also a poll that I want to do, and I will pop up the other sheet again. But can you tell me in terms of your organization where you are in terms of pricing? Are you at 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, or 5.0? And if you are just somewhere in the middle, then you can just choose one of the two of them, of course, just to get an idea where we are at with this group. Yes, nice. Thanks for filling in the poll. So as what we see here is that the majority is in stage 1, and then we have a middle mixed group in stage 2 and 3. So this is also how we can see a representative of the market. So we see a lot of organizations that are still in the first phase of pricing, and I would say changing processes, of course, and making sure that things become a different process in an organization is quite challenging. So to make a step from 1.0 to 2.0 is often a step, and then kind of the engine starts running, right? So once you have these insights and you can learn from your own organization, then you have enough information, of course, to make with each other a next decision, also in terms of pricing. So next to pricing, in general, how you look at products and how you can leverage your position, I always like to see the economical circumstances where we are dealing with. So in this case, I just have taken the quarterly results of Procter & Gamble of the last quarter, so January to March. And if we look into their numbers, and just to understand what they have done in the last quarter, is of course a quite large company, and we zoom into the prices, and we see that in beauty, they had a price increase of 8%, grooming increase of 10%, healthcare increase of 6%, fabric and home care even an increase of 13%. And then the baby family care corner, they increased prices with 8%. But on the other hand, we also see the volume on the left side, right? So price increases can have an influence, of course, on your volume and how you are selling it, and how this reflects, of course, in the economical circumstances. So what we see here is a decline in terms of volume. And this triggers a question with me just to see where we are at, also because we are with more companies in this meeting today, in this roundtable. So my question to you is, just as Procter & Gamble, did you increase your prices in the last quarter, and did you see your sales volume drop in the last quarter? If you didn't increase your price, but your volume did drop, then you can please answer yes as well, just to give an idea how your current situation is coming across.
And sorry, what if you did increase the price and the volume increased?
That's a good one.
Same here, at least
Then
with
the
one
answer
customer.
is no, right? All right, so it's kind of interesting, right? So we have some companies here that don't have this situation at hand, I think, as the last one. So you could increase your prices and increase your volume in sales. The other one is, of course, the other half is that they increase prices and that they had a decline in volume. What is kind of interesting, of course, because where we are heading in terms of economical circumstances is that, and I think we hear this all the time in the news articles right now, is that the stagflation is coming, right? So in general, we see that the GDP of countries is going down. It's not negative yet, but most economists expect that in the coming quarters. We see that the demand side, in some cases, so not with all of us, but in the demand side, we see a decrease. Unemployment is like something that is getting a start, so it's not there yet, but we are moving in that direction. But inflation is a thing that we for sure dealing with, right? So I think we are just a small step away of this situation, and maybe for some organizations we are already in it, meaning that beside understanding what the price position is of your products, you also have to take into account the state of the economy, right? So in terms of how you manage a organization, it becomes highly complex because there are so many different aspects that you need to take into account in terms of pricing that you could consider. Is it able for a human to assess all these different areas and then still come up with like representable choices to steer an organization in a certain direction? Or is it advisable that we as humans get a kind of support in this, because we are now able to leverage all these information positions, as we as a human can only work with some 7 numbers. So this environment becomes highly complex for a human brain to operate in. And if we then ask also in organizations what their biggest challenge is in adapting to these market circumstances, then we actually define like 3 areas what the problem is if we look into the pricing power as a strategy. and what the step would be to get there, right? So the first one that we see in some organizations is that there's a race to the bottom, right? So if there are commodity markets, we see that people react on each other's prices, so that has an influence on the margin. We see newcomers to the market, so we see a bigger spread or a loss of interest in a certain product, so a loss in market share. But what we also see is that there are issues in the governance, right? And that there are concerns about it. So if decisions have to be made, how are we going to make it, and on which level are we going to make decisions to move towards somewhere, right? So these influence all kind of a part of the process. And on the right side, we also see the inability of new price execution. So in a lot of organizations, we still see single price point strategies, right? So they have difficulties executing new price strategies, but also have a frequent price change to adapt to market circumstances. Although there's of course a difference between B2B and B2C, although we all know that more price changes are getting more acceptable in markets in general. And I think that is a kind of a trend that you can use to your benefit eventually. Next to that, we see that organizations have challenges with gathering data insights on a simple level, right? Just leverage the basic information that you have to understand more of your organization's position. So that is a challenge that we see as well. Next to that, of course, the indexation of markets. So how do you position yourself, and how easy is it for you to get a real-time index of your market for today, right? Just to have an understanding how the markets behave. So most time we are dealing with lagging indicators, what prevents you to be more reactive towards future decisions that you want to make. And still, as what you just said, we see that a lot of organizations steer their organization based on intuition and gut feeling. And with declining loyalty of employees towards a company, that becomes an issue over time, right? So maybe in the short term, you have got it covered. In the long term, it could become an issue for you. And the final one that we have is the lacking knowledge and expertise, right? So we are afraid to implement a new pricing system or pricing tool or pricing strategy. But yeah, as said, there's never a good time, right? In good times, you don't want to change the strategy because everything is running well. But if it's bad, it's like a critical situation. You don't want to start on something new. So at a certain point, you just have to give it a strategical project, and then you have to start working with it, right? And on top of it, we see a lot of disagreements in teams, for now, for sure, because a lot of changes are going on. And on top of it, we see that organizations, because they didn't move towards kind of developments, they have no learning cycles in place. So the testing of pricing and building their own story becomes a challenge. But if you look at dynamic pricing, it's quite effective, right? So companies and organizations that benefit in times of disturbance or are still able to quickly adapt to situations, so have a high level of agility, are, the industry of the airlines, of course, and the travel industry. We see it a lot, and the e-commerce is at this moment as well. So we see these three markets are leveraging their kind of yield management in terms of pricing tools, just to make sure that they can change prices quite quickly, maximize revenues in the circumstances where they can achieve a certain level. Where we see increases of these tools is also in the retailer side and in the manufacturing side, right? So eventually, it's nice to know how much, to say this such a air you have in a price. So how much can we move to the upside? And then if you do it, till what extent is that just a price increase that is accepted by the consumer or by the person who buys the product or service? And then at a certain point, of course, you have leveraged or pushed your prices to such level that you have to do something with your product or with your service as well, right? Because we cannot keep on increasing prices and then give the loyal consumer nothing extra, right? Because then could be the case that they are going to pivot to different options as well, or maybe try different options. So you want to sustain that loyalty that you have built it. So it's good to think about these processes and be aware that these markets are like upcoming in pushing dynamic pricing towards their market as well. So that is something that we see coming. Just to get a clear understanding, what do we then mean with dynamic pricing? So this is an example of selling in microwave. And just to give you the idea of the dynamic pricing. So what we see with a lot of companies is, of course, the static price. As you see here, Sears is selling this microwave for €899.99, and it's the same price in the evening till like the evening again. So there is no change. There's then this competition in the market, what's called Best Buy, selling the same microwave for €809.99. But there is one pivot in their price strategy. So that's during the evening between, let's say, 5 and 8 o'clock. They push the price at the level of Sears. And then we look at, of course, the king more or less in dynamic pricing. That's Amazon, and Amazon is selling this microwave in 9 different price positions throughout the day. And what we see is that Amazon, if we look at the kind of a trend analysis here, we would see that the biggest price movements we see in the evening. Why? Because when we get at home and we have small kids or whatsoever, or we want to warm up our food, like in the evening, the microwave is used at most, right? So if it breaks down, it mostly happens in that time. So the strategy of Best Buy and Sears is then, because the demand for a microwave is up, they want to increase prices as much as possible. Amazon has a little bit of a different strategy. Amazon wants to drop prices as low as possible because there's a lot of volume in the market. So how more deals they can close, maybe leverage their buying position, and from their buying position they can have, for instance, lower rates on that end. So they leverage it on the buying side instead of the selling side. But this gives you an idea in how you can leverage, for instance, different price positions during a process of a day, just to have different price points to be able to utilize a data position and be able, of course, to use it to your company's benefits. Because what we are doing here, more or less, is, of course, can be based on competitive base, but what we are doing is to get an idea what the elasticity around your product is, right, in terms of prices. So how can we leverage your product price correlation in such a way that we push your profit margins, or that we, for instance, gain as much revenue as possible. So that is a kind of what we measure in price elasticity. So as said, if you follow, for instance, the average price of your competitors and would adjust your price on a daily base or maybe on a longer base, your price, and you would build in the meantime an elasticity model that is completely weighted on the that has the weight of all your competitors in there, then you can eventually build these models that gives you an idea how you could set your prices throughout the day, and just make sure that you can leverage the position, of course, that you have, and use a combination of elasticity and competitive data to learn over the sets of prices that you want to push in the market. If we get to a more difficult position, then we have to build a kind of scientific model, right? And the scientific model runs on a lot of variables. So once the basic setup in terms of competitive pricing is not enough for you, so you really want to be pushed to the next level, then we build an interdependent model in terms of all the variables that we want to measure. And on the right side, you kind of already see how interconnected this is, right? So cost price, sales price, but also the systems that you use and how you compare it, and if there's any seasonality, location where you sell the products, etc. So all these interconnectivity of all these variables are taken into account. And what we need to do in AI systems is understand how this model works, and then connect to the right systems to get the data out of those systems, and then start making these modules and models to compute the ideal price positions for the products. And then we move, of course, to the next phase. So how are we setting up that model then? So then we can say, for instance, okay, for this product, it has different variant. It has variance in the terms how we can buy it and which options it has. So we have a certain base price, and on top of it we have some add-ons, right? So why prices could increase, and then it can be that we have different customer groups, right? So for one customer group we charge price A, and for some customer group B we would charge price B. It can also be on the size of a company, etc. So based on product and consumers, we move to a situation, right? So there can be a seasonality to a product, can be that there is a high level of competition or no competition. It can also be that your inventory level has to be taken into account. It can also be that there is something in the price, right? So that there is like a sensitivity, how much you can reprice your price compared to the last price in terms of percentages, right? So we cannot increase our price more than 5% for the next cycle or whatsoever. And what we now want to achieve is that there is a model that is able to make all types of decisions across these elements that you see here, and then combine it to an active strategy that you want to install in your organization. So in terms of making it touchable, tangible, in terms of building a price strategy, this could be eventually in kind of flow in how the model comes to a conclusion to set up a price for your organization. So why do we want to execute dynamic pricing in general, right? It's just because we have a lot of value drivers in here. So you want to you want to make use of the level of demands, right? So that you can take the best out of it for your organization to boost eventually, of course, your revenues. You can have a better price position for each consumer in each market. So you are more adaptable to the circumstances where you are operating your business in. Next to that, we have more insights in customer behavior. So if we understand, if we collect all these data points and we know when a customer comes in, when they order, how many are sold on a certain time period or in a certain week or season or whatsoever, all these different data points tells you something about the attractiveness of your product and when you are really in a position to get the best out of the price and the product's positioning in terms of the company's results that you want to achieve in terms of margins or revenue positioning. Next to that, we also see that if you are capable to do this, then your inventory management is better as well, right? So as once these models are mature, you even can have a kind of demand forecasting in terms of, if the correlation between price and demand is clear, then you can set prices even to manage your inventories. And that also helps to maintain, control your marketing costs, but also to be lean in terms of how much money you already invest to get stock levels on a certain level, knowing, for instance, if your selling price is going to be lower, being aware on where your capital is flowing in terms that it doesn't become too passive for your organization in general. So the 6 most promising price strategies that we of course see, for instance, KPI strategies or brand strategies or revenue growth strategies. 6 that we see that contribute a lot at this moment. So what are the most companies are considering is making it dynamic via competitor, elasticity model, more dynamic pricing. So on a real-time base, building AI optimal prices in the organization, sensitivity models. So what we see in a lot of organizations is that 20% of the stock levels make 20% of the inventory makes 80% of the revenue, and of course 80% and the other 20% is done by the 80%, but 80% doesn't have sufficient data. So it means that we have to make a different model for the products that doesn't have a sufficient data set. So what we do with our strategies is that we build machine learning models that are able to analyze if products eventually are sensitive or are not sensitive, although they have a low data maturity level, right? So sensitivity models is really upcoming in terms of making passive products more or activate those in terms for the revenue growth. And the final one, of course, is that we see that stock-based because of Corona and the bullwhip. We see that a lot of companies have a lot of inventory or inventory turnover is declining, so they need to have an active strategy on the stock level just to make sure that they keep in charge of their developments. So we can combine these 2 different strategies, ones that you see here. So key value item based, elasticity based, competition based, stock based, or sensitivity or elasticity based, of course. And finally, we can always make a rule engine, of course, to combine that with the other strategies. So in general, we can say the key in successful price execution in organizations that leverage machine learning or AI is a combination of price strategies. So not one strategy. So it can be that you have a seasonality product. So for instance, in a part of the year, you just have a cost-based plus with a dynamic cost structure. And on top of it, you have like an elasticity model that only runs in the periods that you really sell this product extremely frequently, right? So as swimming pools in the summer or something like that. And then just making sure that you combine strategies to leverage all these product groups that you are selling and making sure that you get the best results out of that one. All right, so summarized, how can you execute pricing power as a strategy? I would say there's a 3-step approach. First, you have to get an idea, what are the options within the products and services that you are selling? So how much air do you have to play with price to the upside and to the downside? Then if you know that you can move price to the upside or to the downside, take small steps to do so, and then learn from these cycles that you are executing the price changes and be in contact with your clients and with your customers to understand how they perceive these price changes and when you have to do something on your product side as well, or at the presentation or the customer journey or whatsoever. And then finally, if you are able to identify how that has worked and how that has come to a certain conclusion, make sure that you start building the data models, and on the products that you that you make it an overall scientific model that can be used for the organization, right? So that you store that knowledge that you have built it, and then develop the scientific models again in the learning cycles to test new variables and be able to go on with your development and make a distinguish in the markets in terms of your data position and investments that you have made in terms of AI and machine learning. So to go to the breakout room, I just want to give you one thing is I would be really curious if you discuss it with each other. What would be your ultimate price strategy, right? Taking into consideration the information that you have heard from me today, but also taking into consideration, of course, how your organization is set by themselves. everyone takes into consideration different elements to make the ultimate price. I think in general, there's a lot of possibilities. You just have to find the one that works best for you based on data and fact-based decisions. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Vincent. Just a quick question there about the dynamic pricing. Do you see that that will be more and more common in different areas?
Yes, I would say so. We see already quite a big increase in terms of the use of price elasticity of the price dynamic pricing. But we do see there's a difference between B2B and B2C, right? B2C has more transactional data, has more flexibility in terms of to play with prices. And in the B2B environment, that's a lot less, right? So we see that companies have to get accommodated to that situation. But if you have no clue how much space or how much air you have to push a product also in the B2B, and you do have to deal with like this inflated resources that you are consuming to eventually push a product towards the market. So it's nice to have this information, right? Because if you know that there is a way that you can push it, then you have more confidence in setting these, and you can change the mindset in your organization to achieve eventually the goal that you want to achieve. And there's, again, also in the B2B, all these products that don't sell frequently enough to build models, right? So then you have to be even more smart about it to build scientific models that can leverage external data sources to optimize internal sources. And that is actually how we try to help organizations to broaden this view, that there are more tools available to help them with these types of investigations and steps to eventually help them to survive a consolidation probably that we would have in these markets, right? Because volumes are going down.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Rowan, we got a question about, will we share the presentations, right? We will do that. Yeah, Rowan,
Yes, we will. So
Perfect.
whichever rep from either UE side or Simpson side invited you in the first place will be in touch later this week with slides and more information.
Perfect. So let's do a quick split into the rooms and discussion. So welcome back with your cameras on and you unmute so we can discuss.
Sorry,
welcome
Dirk.
back again, everyone.
Cut off there.
Sorry, Dirk.
Oh. Sorry. Someone wanted to say something?
I was just saying to Dirk and Ian, we got a bit cut off at the end of their conversation there. So
Yeah, I know.
if they'd like to pick that up at the end, that's very doable.
Yeah, Zoom is brutal. But just before we end, the time is soon over, is that we are part of some events. You see the ones here on the slide. It's UK IRX in Birmingham, and it's in Stockholm, 31st of May. And I thought it was 3 events. It's only 2.
Just those 2 for the moment. We will have events coming up in the Benelux as well for those attendees who are in that region. But if you are interested in any further events like this or picking up any conversations you've started before being booted out of the breakout rooms, then please either get in touch with your local rep who's invited you to this event, or you have my colleague Arena's details on the slide there as well.
Good. So many thanks for all the discussions, for both Martin and Vincent's presentation. Very interesting, and all your comments and experiences and sharing. I hope I see you soon again. The light is here, the sun comes. At the moment it's raining in Stockholm. Maybe you have better weather in UK or Benelux. See you soon again. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Cheers, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mats. Bye-bye.
Okay, just home team left, yeah?
Yeah, since yes.
Yeah, everybody's gone. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Martin, Vincent, I don't know how you put that much information across that quickly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got really clever and then really stupid again in the middle of that, I've got to say. So overall, my breakout room with Ian and Jaco There wasn't a lot of, so thank you very much, both of you, for being there. There wasn't very much ask the experts. They were mostly wanting to rattle on about their own business and their own challenges, which is good for us. Gives us a lot of data to go off of, and I've got some good notes from both of them. By the time we got to the last one, there was only 2 left, and they're both, it was Tool Evering and AnyLamp. So they're both in the book for UE already. But there's hopefully some ops there for Simpson as well. How did the other 2 breakout rooms go, guys?
Well, the first one was, of course, the best one. That's one thing for sure. No, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Mats, what were you saying?
I think it was a good discussion, and I mean, we could have a little bit more time, I believe, but of course, no, but I think, yeah, I mean, good discussion, and of course, we were spoiled. We both have Martin and Vincent with us, so the experts was really in there.
Yeah, the response was also quite good. I know for sure, because Intergamma was already in connection with you, Vincent, or was it the other one who was already?
No,
Torben.
Yeah.
Torben.
Yeah. So yeah, Intergamma mentioned that they are going to work to go for a artificial intelligence Simpson pricing tool. And Casper, I don't know which company he is. I need to align with
The
that.
car company in
Yeah,
Denmark.
that's one indeed. He's for sure interested, so that's going to be a follow-up meeting, 100% for sure. And actually, one guy left during the first presentation of Martin, and he wants to come back with a follow-up meeting. So yeah, results-wise from the first room, yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
Nice.
Room 3. Oh, sorry, Martin, Vincent. Anything to add to Paul's there? As gospel.
No, I mean, obviously there was a lot of conversation. Yeah, we could have spoke probably for 30 minutes in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was quite good.
I think in general that is the feedback that I would have as well, right? So you see in these roundtables that eventually these people are dealing with circumstances that they want to discuss, and actually that is the thing that is central contributing to their information position. So I would say if we host it again, then I would say that the breakout